Hello and welcome back once again to After the Credits. Excuse my voice, I'm coming down a little bit of a cold, I think. Woke up this morning with a kind of a sore throat, but not really feeling under the weather, just sore throat, a little bit of trouble talking and swallowing and things like that. Still got around to seeing a movie. This one is only a month old, maybe. It came out on, I think, 4th of July, based on what movie it is. Today's August 2nd, so almost a month later, I finally get around to seeing it. Today's movie is Independence Day Resurgence. Independence Day 2, ID42, whatever you want to call it. ID4R, whatever. What did I think of Independence Day Resurgence? It was alright. If you like the first one, you'll probably like this one too. It kind of feels like the same movie almost. You're watching like a continuation of it. It doesn't even really feel like 20 years later. It kind of just feels like if you'd put this one right at the end of the other one, it would have fit. Basically, the premise of the movie is it is 20 years later. Humanity, as with most sci-fi trope movies, have taken the alien technology, incorporated into our own, and have advanced civilization. Because of the alien war, where most nations are at peace, there's still like a few holdouts where certain people still aren't fully on board with the entire united world thing. They kind of still want to do their own thing, but at the same time, they're willing to put those differences aside in the right circumstances, I guess. We find out that most of the children of the actors from the first one have all grown up and have all gone into some form of the military and are part of what's called the Legacy Squadron. Basically, like, the kid who played Will Smith's son in the first one is a fighter pilot. The president's daughter is a fighter pilot, or was a fighter pilot. Now she works for the new president, who is a woman, by the way. Yay, Hillary, whatever. No politics here, but yeah, whatever. Acknowledging that there could be a female president in the future. Way to go. I'm not really sure who the other characters were all supposed to be. I don't know if they're actually people that we saw in the first one or not. At first I thought the one character was Randy Quaid's character's kid, but he would be a lot older than what he is in this one. So I'm not sure there. I don't think it was him, but it's possible he's around somewhere. So basically it's all people who have lost someone, who had family members who fought in or died in the first war. They're all this squadron of fighter pilots and other military-esque people. And they've been spending the last 20 years using the alien tech to try to develop weapons to fight against the aliens if they ever came back. So we find out that something's coming. So the defense system goes into activation and shoots it down. And while they're going to investigate what it was that they shot down, here comes another ship, which is like this big mega mothership, like 10 times the size of the one from the first movie. It's flying over the moon, takes out the defense systems, and actually lands on the planet, which, as large as it is, I don't know how it would land on the planet without destroying like the entire world. They say something in Star Trek about the ships having to be built in space dock because if they were to take off and actually land on the planet itself, it would cause damage to the planet. But this one, being like 100 times bigger than any of our the Starfleet starships, I almost said our starships like we actually have them, it's bigger than those, so for it to land on the planet, obviously it causes devastation, but it would. At one point, someone says it'll split the world in two, and honestly, if something that big were to attempt to land on this planet, it probably would just cripple the entire planet. But it lands. They find out why the aliens came to our planet in the first place, why they chose to attack us out of all the other planets, why they couldn't just go and absorb any other planet in our galaxy. They had to come after us. It kind of plays out with Jeff Goldblum's character and a lot of the other returning characters still working within the government and within Area 51 to put in these countermeasures. And they end up not being enough. The alien ship being 10 times the size is easily able to counteract its own technology. So it can take us down real easy, even though we're fighting it with its own weapons. It kind of cripples us. We find out that the first ship that came through, spoilers by the way, has some form of a weapon on it. So we're investigating that. And then it just turns into this ships flying around, shooting the alien ship type of thing like we had in the first one. And plays out the rest of the way you would imagine it would. And that's pretty much the movie. They try to eliminate as many of the returning characters as they can, with the exception of 2, maybe 3. Actually, maybe 4. So everything kind of goes into effect, and of course, humanity wins, right? Spoiler, by the way, in case you didn't hear me say it a minute ago. Humanity ends up winning because it's an Independence Day movie, and yeah, gung ho, USA, whatever, planet Earth, whatever. But then it sequel baits. And the first one did not sequel bait. The first one just kind of was its own thing and left it off there. And this is kind of telling the story 20 years later. And it's making this huge move, thinking it did well enough to actually grant a sequel. So within the next year, we'll probably see Independence Day 3. Because they can't really wait another 20 years to go into effect with what they've put into the ending of this movie. They might be able to skip it ahead like 3-4 years, but that would be it as far as the storyline goes. But you'll probably see it within the next year to 2 years, maybe 3, somewhere down the road. You'll see another Independence Day movie based on the sequel baiting that they did. Not going to go into too much more detail other than that. That's how it ended, was with a sequel bait. What would I give it as far as a star rating? I'd give it a solid 3.5, almost 4. I'd go 3.5 on it. As I said, it is just kind of the same thing that Independence Day was, and I know a lot of people who enjoyed Independence Day now go back and look at it 20 years later and like, it doesn't hold up. It's been a while since I watched it. I liked it when I first saw it. Yes, it has its problems, obviously, but it was fun at the time that it was made. So why rag on it now? You enjoyed it back then, why rag on it so much now other than you can because it's the internet? So yeah, if you like the first one, it's more or less the same thing, so from that aspect, I enjoyed it. So that would probably put it up around a 4 because, like I said, when I watched the first one, I kind of enjoyed it. I probably would have rated that a 4 back 20 years ago. But because it was just kind of rehashing the same thing, and even though it continued the story, it didn't redo a lot of the tropes from the first one, other than the big plane battle and everything. Because it was just kind of a continuation, didn't really add too much to the story, kind of cashing in on the main franchise. It loses a little bit from that 4 that it would have had for that, but not really enough to put it like at a 3 at middle of the road. It was what it was. It was fun to watch. At first I was kind of like, how's this going to go? Then at the end I was like, okay, that was fun. So it gets a little bit more for that. Towards the end it got a little Starship Troopery, which I love Starship Troopers. It's probably one of my favorite guilty pleasures. So I kind of enjoyed it again for that. It wasn't overly campy though, like Starship Troopers, so don't get that idea. It's just kind of the way the ending played out. It's kind of like, yeah, Starship Troopers much. But yeah, I'd give it a solid 3.5 based on those reasons. If this was the first time I'd ever seen a movie like this, like I said, like with the original one, I probably would have gave it a 4 at the time of watching it. Now it would probably be a 3.5 also. Since this one's a continuation, it covers all the same things. Normally I would give it a 3.5 because it's just the same thing, but it was still fun, and it didn't just hammer in all the old tropes that the first one had. So I give it a little bit of credit for that. So it's a 3.5. So as always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Links are down there and up there, I believe. Yes. And until next time, we'll see you after the credits.